Hey, what up? It's Owen from Real Social Dynamics. Welcome to Washington, D.C. And in today's video, I'm going to take you deep down the rabbit hole of offering value to people so that when you do, there's a vibe about you that makes them feel immediately receptive and immediately trusting. And what I'm going to teach you is how to get out of the rut of thinking that you need to have a technique. Not to say techniques are bad, they're actually excellent. But to get out of the rut of thinking you need it and to get you into a paradigm where just by your vibe, you get incredible response. You want to always keep this expansive energy about you. And a lot of it is what I call coping versus thriving. So this is a really subtle point. If you're underslept and hungry, one thing that you might observe in yourself is that if somebody says, "How are you doing?" as your response, you'll go, "Good." What would be the polite response?
I'm fine.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm fine.
What? No one's gonna get it, really? I'm stunned.
Good.
How are you doing? You ever like think about that when you're a kid? You're like, where does this whole "how are you" thing come from?
Yeah, I thought about that.
Or when people say the word "what's up" as hey, what up, dude? It's sort of a funny human
Because they don't care.
communication, right? That you think they don't care. Hey, how are you doing? What it actually means, it's more a self display of your mental state than it is so much about the other person. When I say, how are you, like, dude, how are you doing? How's your day going? The implication is, my life is good. Give me a second. My life is amazing. How are you doing? It comes from the Bible. You ever heard with Jesus, the cup runneth over? You ever heard that? The cup runneth over. So the idea is the cup is so full that it's overflowing with value. So when you say, "How are you doing?" And I observe this myself because, sometimes I run these boot camps. I get really tired after. I'm like, ugh. I'm just run down to shit. So I'll be hopping into an Uber or a taxi cab, and the cab driver's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'll just be like, "Fine." And I might you ever have it where you're kind of walking around having a nice day and someone kind of just bumps into you and you're like, "Excuse me," and they just fucking shuffle off. Or you're trying to take a picture and they jump in front of your photo. Or another example would be like, say you got a nice new apartment, maybe you're paying $2,000 a month for it, and somebody comes over to your house and they say, "How much you paying for it?" And you're like, "A couple grand." They're like, "Oh, man, that's not worth it." You ever had that happen? It's happened to me a couple times. Probably was paying a bit more than $2,000, but you get the idea, right? So the general idea here is that it's called coping versus thriving. Say this with me. Coping versus thriving. What that means is that, this is really subtle. This is one of the best things this is what's so crazy. This is one of the most helpful results, like Machiavellian, tactical, game-changing pieces I could give you. And yet everybody who already lives it will just be like, "That's awesome." And the people who aren't living it will gloss it out and they'll ignore it and they will pay no attention. It's crazy how a lot of the advice, like the people who most need the advice, it falls on deaf ears. And the people who already get it are like, "Yeah, love that. Love that." Preach and choir. They say that when someone's at a kind of a lower level paradigm, it's almost like a green flashlight trying to shine through a red filter to communicate with them. They can't quite get it. You've almost got to learn how to shift your language to kind of reach them, right? It's like, you guys ever seen, like, say in YouTube comments, you might see guys saying like, "It's all about looks," or "This can't be done," or "These are like paid models." I could make a video being like, "Guys, like, this is the video for guys that think it's all about the looks. I want to talk to you. I'm going to show you hidden camera video of me picking up girls. And, if you need to, I'll walk down the street at random a lot, and you can watch as I approach it, and you'll clearly see that you couldn't hire this many girls to respond like this. It's really not about the looks, right?" But the way it's like, again, it's like the green flashlight through the red filter. The way that they would hear it or interpret it is like some tricking guy, like some trickery type guy who's like, "Listen to my bullshit. I'm gonna convince you out of it." They can't hear it. Why do you think somebody, let's take a side tangent here. Why do you think somebody who is coping and not thriving needs to believe it's about, looks or money or height or something out of their control? Why do they need to believe that it's either, like they say this about, like most people when they see somebody who's rich, do they think, oh, he must be very hardworking and a risk taker and strategic? What they're probably thinking is, he's what? He's lucky. What else? He inherited it. He cheated the system. He has something I don't have. He has an unfair advantage, like things like that.
Checked into ego.
It means they're failing if they
They
have to accept that they're failing, that there was a possibility.
It's extreme level coping. What it is it's too, if you don't feel that you have the mental and physical capacities and resources to achieve a similar level of success, it really fucking hits you. Like we had a video come out recently with Luke promoting the Social Circle Blueprint. I think that video had the most amount of dislikes I've seen in an RSV video. Now to be fair, it was a sales video. I mean, the back half. But the front half, I mean, given it's a sales video, it's got a lot of great shit in it. You see me at a beautiful mansion in the morning. You see me go out to Vegas, meet a really cool blonde chick, and wind up pulling her. You see us dancing in a super cool club. You see me come back to the mansion, giving some great information that you could immediately put into action. And then you see us at a giant mansion party at the same place that we're shooting earlier. It's kind of beautiful because you see us shooting at that mansion earlier in the day. And then it goes to that mansion at night and shows a party that my roommate spent like $500,000 to $1 million on and shows that party. And then it jumps into Luke gaming with Dan Bilzerian. Dude, that's pretty fucking cool. I mean, really? Like, dislike. Really? But I knew that going into it. In fact, my goal in making that video was to create that reaction. Why is that? Because when somebody clicks dislike, what are they really clicking?
I wish I had
They're actually saying, I really like it. The guys who just liked it, they're just like, oh, I like it. Beautiful content, a cool, fun social circle pickup, a mansion party. Dan Bilzerian in the video. That's pretty cool. Like you really take that for granted. You just saw how I use social networking to get my roommate to want to move into a big mansion with me. You saw how I use social networking to pull a cool blonde chick. You saw how I use social networking to have a party that competes with the Playboy Mansion done at my crib. You saw how Luke used social networking to hang out with Dan fucking Bilzerian, dude. You think just because he's RSD Luke, Dan's just like calling him up, trying to pursue him? We're not that cool. Okay? And you saw, and then we had to figure out how to record this. We had to find girls who think we're so cool that they're like, you know what, record it, have fun. You see all this cool vibing, like you see this really cool vibing of us at the table, having fun with each other, kind of getting a sense of how to like pull and like make it fun. You see things that are inspiring. Like one way to look at it is like, damn, they're giving me the information to get this. Another way to look at it is like, fuck this. A great sales video, let me say this, okay? John Carlton, one of my great marketing mentors, he says, if you have a product and you talk about it at a bar, if everybody says, that sounds awesome, scrap it now. Get rid of it. But if people start fucking twitching and sweating and looking angry, you got a winner. You want that. Why is that? Because everybody is tight on cash, right? Everybody's cash is kind of structured. So say that you're selling a product for, say, $300, and they've got like, a couple grand budgeted that month. And now you show them this thing that they didn't even realize they needed. They're not just gonna be like, oh, I didn't realize I needed that. Here. They're gonna be like, fuck. They're gonna start sweating. So if I'm doing sales, I'll keep giving the selling points of that product until I see the room kind of sweating a little bit. If everybody's just like, oh, that sounds really cool, good luck with it, they're gonna love it. You follow that? They're gonna love it? Yeah. That's what guys try to do with the game, right? Guys will walk up to me out in the field and they'll be kind of like, oh, hey. The guys here, I'm sure this is helping them a lot. They really need this. I'm like, you really fucking need this, motherfucker. Look at you. Are you this big pimp? Shut up. But people like to do that, right? So coping versus thriving, if you show somebody something that's really inspiring, if they're in coping and not thriving, what is their mind likely to default to?
rejection. Coping.
scam, lucky, cheating the system, has an advantage, rich parents, et cetera, et cetera. Looking for why they don't have it. Why don't you have a cool social circle? Why aren't you hanging out with Dan Bilzerian? Why aren't you living in a cool place? Why don't you have cool chicks? Why don't you have the friends you want? Rather than being pissed at the people who do, why not be inspired? But the only way that you can be inspired is if you're shifting into thriving. So if you saw that video and you're like, yo, this is fucking cool as shit, congratulate yourself, because you're literally like, you're able to let that land. Most people can't let that land, but I'm not looking in a video like that to communicate to those people because they're lost cause anyway. So what you're doing is considering right now, are you in coping or thriving? If somebody says to you, how are you doing? And you just go, I'm okay. You're in coping. If you're like, oh, I'm doing well. How are you doing? How's your day going? You're in thriving because you have the extra energy to even ask or care. The average person on the street is derping around. There's so much in coping that if you're taking a camera shot, they'll like stumble right in front of your fucking shot. You'll even see people like say I'm trying to do videos out and I've got like this beautiful setup. Like they've watched me set this up. All they'd have to do is walk 2 feet out of my way and they're like, meh, and they just like stumble through the shot, like knock over the cameras and shit. They're mad that we're even doing a shot. And this is like, if we're not even in like in a highly interrupting place, this can happen. Why do you think that is? Because when you're tired and frustrated and suffering from untargeted discontent, you don't want to move the 2 feet. You don't want to say, how are you doing? So here's the answer, the other side. You guys ready for the other side of the coin? This will be one of the best pieces of information I could ever give to you. Okay, you ready for it?
Yes.
Have I primed you?
Yes.
If you want to get results like what you're seeing me doing in these videos, in the hidden camera footage, change your mindset from ever needing anything or from ever wanting to take anything. Not to say you can't receive or have personal boundaries, you can. But change it from wanting to take anything to the following. As a man, I look at any situation or person, I come from a frame that I am full and fulfilled and complete as I am, and I need nothing. Therefore, I look at it in 3 ways. 1, how do I add value to the situation? 2, how do I offer positive emotions to the situation? Or 3, how do I feel into the situation, determine what it needs, and offer that, and respond to that? When you shift from that, here's what happens in your pickup, okay? The needy vibe goes away. This output of energy vibe goes into you, and you will instinctively make that girl smile. You will instinctively approach her the right way. Say she's kind of rushing, you'll know not to stop her too early. You'll know when to touch. You'll know when to joke. You'll know when to introduce. You'll know when to pull. You'll feel it because you have an instinct to feel into this. I'll give it to you in a sec. You have an instinct to feel into the situation. Okay? So you have an instinct to feel the situation, never getting a sense that you could be missing something. Always assuming that the cup runneth over with value, and saying, how do I offer value to the situation? How do I add good emotions to the situation? Or how do I feel into the situation and hear my inner voice of how to be responsive to the situation? Again, you'll find that you offer a lot of status and value into your pickups. So because of that, you get attraction. You'll offer good emotions in your pickup so that her buying temperature will go up. She'll become happy. And you'll open perfectly. You'll walk with her perfectly. You'll say the perfect thing. You'll feel it. You'll see very frequently that as you do this, girls start dragging you home. Girls start offering their numbers to you. Girls start throwing themselves at you. You'll see this again and again and again. Now, what's funny is I said this typically falls on deaf ears. Here's why. What frequently happens is guys who are in a taker's mindset are looking for the next tactic. So no matter how many times you tell them you're a value taker, they're blind to it. They can't see it. They can't see the creepy vibe. And because they wish to stay in that paradigm and not evolve, what winds up happening is they believe that they need a tactic to compensate for the deficiency. They're not aware another paradigm exists. Now, why is it that we go into scarcity? Why is it that we go into coping and aren't in thriving? Again, say this with me, coping, not thriving. Say it. Coping, not thriving. This is critical. Coping, not thriving. Most people, when you look at them, look dead in the eyes. there's a shift in their pupils. Their pupils look dead. When you're thriving, there's an aliveness in the pupils. And you can see this with people that meditate. So avid meditators can see other meditators. Who here meditates? Okay, when you guys, now that you've done meditation, if you're walking down the street, can you recognize other people who meditate quickly? What you look for is a present gaze, and you look for a life in the eyes. Because what's happening when you meditate is you're getting out of this paradigm of continually searching and searching and searching and trying to get happiness from material objects and whatnot. And you're what they would say in meditation is you're drawing it from source energy. Source energy essentially is where you become present to the moment and you allow the source to fill up your cup. The source is unlimited, whereas physicality, materiality, is temporary and shifts with circumstance. It's very temporal. Now, this is called Eastern philosophy. It is pseudoscience. What is the difference between pseudoscience and pseudopsychology versus real science and real psychology?
Real science is measurable.
It's very measurable. Now, what you're finding is people in real science are beginning to put like EEGs, is that what it's called, EEG? Like, you know, like wiring people up, and they're testing them. You remember earlier when I was with Madison, I showed you just me smiling? And I can pump my own neurotransmitters? You can measure that. How am I doing that? I'm drawing from the source energy. Now, it sounds complex, but it's really quite simple. Allow your mind to rest in the present moment. Feel the nice gratitude, and your default becomes happiness. More or less. I'm glossing over a lot of complexities here. You could poke a million holes in this argument. But before you poke holes in the argument, just understand the argument. So, basic, you know, because you got to understand the base of it before you can understand the alternative viewpoints. So that being the case, what you want to do is draw from source energy. Right? If you don't like that terminology, you hate that phrasing, just get your mind in the zone. Stop thinking so much. Is another way of putting it, rather than getting this like woo shit. So when you're coping, you're walking around and you think you need something, and you're not aware of this whole other paradigm in which you could be thriving. Because you're unaware that you could be thriving, you're clasping at straws, looking to get the result that you think wrongly would make you happy, and you're trying to get a tactic for it. So you're stuck in this weird rut. What you want to do instead is get present to the moment and say to yourself, I am already fulfilled. My cup runneth over. And that being the case, I offer value, good emotions, or I feel into the situation and I'm responsive to the situation. Now, again, this is coming from the celebrity mindset. Like I saw Vince Vaughn out the other night. Vince Vaughn has tons of fans. He's a movie actor, right? From Swingers. He's got tons of fans. A lot of people like him. He goes to I was at Bungalow in Santa Monica. Of course, everybody's so excited that he's there. So does he need anything? No. So when I made eye contact with him, he looked at me and said, hello, friend. And he gave me this big blast of present energy. Good to meet you. Good to see you. And then he continued on. He wasn't needing anything from me. He felt my eye contact. He felt into the situation, offered me good emotions, the value of his presence, and he felt in the situation and said hello to me. He feels that instinctively. So when I see a girl, if I instinctively feel that the best way to be responsive to her would be to walk with her, engage with her, let her feel my presence, let her feel my good emotions, raise her emotional state, lead her along once we've established a commonality and trust, then that makes the pickup very smooth. And what winds up happening is that when you have this down, and listen carefully, there's an underlying subconscious eye roll at all the other guys. Say an underlying eye roll. Say that with me. Underlying eye roll. So there's this kind of vibe where you're just in the zone and she's kind of like happy because she's just a hot chick, so whatever. And basically, you're like, not just a hot chick. But the point is she's somebody who has a lot of validation. She's totally in the zone usually. So that being the case, what happens is there's kind of this vibe where other guys come up needy and you're kind of like, you know, may I apologize on behalf of, you know, the masculine gender. We're fucking creepy. But I'm present here with you right now. We're here to have some fun, so let's go. You see that? There's a vibe of that, right? Not that you should ever apologize for your gender in yourself. But most dudes in general are fucking creepy. They're coping. They're creepy as fuck. So, and I can become creepy at times myself, right? When I get in coping. When I cope, I get creepy. So that's why I want to thrive. So that being the case, what you want to do is be in that mode. And if you do that, it automatically solves the problems of a certain tactic or facial expression or move because the energy is so good that the girl's going to be highly responsive to it. So again, just to wrap with this idea, why do people go into coping? We go into coping because we're fucking tired. You know, you get underslept. Like, I notice it in myself. When I get tired, I act like that. When I'm really hungry, I act like that. If you see me out on the street and I'm tired and hungry, I'm probably not gonna be like fucking Vince Vaughn. I'm just gonna look like a grumpy cab driver. You ever had it, by the way, where you give a cab driver a great tip, but because he hates his job, he kind of just goes, ugh. You ever seen that? I've tested this. You know, I'll give a cab driver like a $15 tip, and he's just like, ugh. Right? I go, dude, hey brother, how are you doing? Ugh. Dude, you know, I just tipped you 15 bucks and I want you to be happy. Do you need more? Are you having a hard time? Let me offer you more. Here's 30. Bro, I got 100 for you. You need it? Because for me, a social experiment's easily worth 100 bucks. So it's like, I got 100 bucks for you. He had him 100 bucks. And then he just throws it back at me.
Wow.
Why? Because he's in this pessimistic reality. That same reality as the guys are like, it could only be looks with the game stuff, right? They're in that pessimistic reality, and when confronted with the possibility that the world could be a good place, it actually fucks him up. You're frying his brain. When a guy's in coping, he needs to believe the world's inherently evil and stacked against him to cope. You follow that? When you're coping, you need to believe the world is a hostile place with cheaters and scammers, and that you're the only one with integrity, and it's because of your integrity that you're sucking at life. And that if you were willing to cheat, you'd be rich too, and you'd be getting girls too, but you're just not willing to cheat. That's not to say that, look, like every truth is about a half truth. It's not to say that there aren't people that are like crushing it by doing unethical things. We get that. But typically, by the way, whenever you go unethical, it's almost like, you ever see the movie Casino or Goodfellas or the NWA movie? It's like when you do things in that low vibration state, there's often, you pay the bill at the end. So even though like the guys in the movie Casino are crushing it, at the end of it, they're all getting their fucking legs chopped off and buried and arrested and whatnot, right? So you can do well for a time, but there's a bill at the end to pay. What's that?
Spoilers.
Oh, you guys.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, good God. Okay, I'm so old. Back in the day, everybody was seeing it. Quick one and we'll wrap it.
Yeah, why not?
If it's about the topic.
Yeah, it is. You said you
By the way, let me even interrupt that. Oftentimes, guys, I'll be on this like one thread and everybody's getting value from the thread. And you'll see a guy in coping throws his hand up. He's like, so I have a question about boyfriends. And everybody in the room, I'm not saying you, by the way. Sorry. Yeah, but it just reminded me of kind of a cool point. Like everybody in the room's getting value from one train of a lesson. And then there's that one guy, he's so stuck in his head that his energy is constricted. And he's like, oh, I have a question. What's the question about? I have a question about boyfriends. And what winds up happening is that it derails it for everybody else. Because that guy's so much in coping, he thinks he needs his question answered, right? I'll give you one last funny example before you ask your questions. There was this one student that I had years ago, okay? He was like in his 50s. I was like 22 or 24 or something. He's in his 50s. And he was really in coping, like big time. So it was like this old guy's wearing this yellow cardigan. So I bring him to this club and he's like demanding that I get him laid. It was so crazy, right? Just very demanding guy. And back in the day, I probably lacked personal boundaries. And I was like, well, you know, this guy took my program. I got to get him laid. I got to meet all his demands. So I figure out that like maybe in my 23 or 24-year-old head, I literally get this stroke of genius to bring him to the back patio area and to make him start a mosh. And I literally get this like 55-year-old dude to start a fucking mosh. I get them jumping, oh, hey. I actually do that in my seminars now, right? In the blueprint, right? Yeah. So I get him doing that, right? Now, funny enough, I still do this in my seminars. I get everybody cheering. Everybody loves it. So the thing is, like, everybody loves to cheer together. So I get him to start a fucking mosh. This guy literally leads a mosh in the back. I'm like, good God. I'm like, shows what pressure can do. Like, I can't believe I thought of this. And girls are actually into him. He actually gets numerous girls into him and then still creeps them out and then pulls them aside. He's like, I demand to get laid. And again, I took things way too personally then. Nowadays, if a guy did that to me, I just said, bro, this isn't the right fit. Just go on your way, have fun, refund, no problem. But at the time, I was trying to push it. So finally, I start yelling at him. I'm like, dude, you're fucking pathetic. And he's like, yes, call me pathetic. I'm like, this is not an S&M lesson, right? So finally, like that guy went on his way. I never got him laid. But I was at a David D'Angelo seminar with about 300 people years later. And his name is Eben Pagan these days, but back then he called himself David D'Angelo. He teaches marketing now under the real name Eben Pagan, but his pseudonym was David D'Angelo. So there's like David D'Angelo. He's on this like beautiful train of thought, right? And this guy just puts his hand up and he's like, David. right? And it's like 300 people. And David's like, his name's Eben now, right? Eben's like, what? Dude, what is it? And he's like, I have a question. And he's like, I mean, this has got to be good, man. Is this about what we're talking about? He's like, yes, yes. He's like, all right, come to the front, but this has got to be good. Because he was like in this like poignant moment. And the guy gets up, and it's that same dude from my boot camp like a couple months earlier, right? I'm like, holy shit, now he's here. So he stumbles to the front, and he's like, David, and he's like, some absurd question, like, let's say it was like, I don't know what it was, like, how do you get a girl who has a boyfriend, right? But see, unlike me, because I'm too young, I have no personal boundaries, Eben just looks at him, and he just goes, sit the fuck down now, right? He didn't give a fuck, right, about a couple $100 from this dude, right? And then he goes, just sit down. And he goes, you know what, guys? Sometimes in life, you're so needy, you're so desperate, you need so bad that paradoxically you're screaming so loud that no one can hear you scream. Everyone just tunes it out. You're screaming so loud, the pitch of that scream is so loud that everyone just tunes it out. And I like at that moment, like my fucking spine was tingling. I was like, good God, that guy's so much cooler than me. I bring this guy back for a mosh. I'm like, we'll fix this, right? It's unfixable. You can't fix the unfixable. Until he chooses to go in thriving, he'll be in coping. Why was he so demanding? Because he's so much in his head, he's not aware of my experience. He only cares about his experience. But what he doesn't realize is that same indifference to my experience as a teacher is why he can't get girls. Sometimes I'll be coaching a guy and I'll say, bro, I need you to say thank you right now to me, right? I say, I need you to say thank you. And in their mind, they're probably thinking, what's this guy like need my approval? I'm paying him. I'm paying that guy. Why should I say thank you to him? I'm paying him. Meanwhile, I'll spend probably 10 to 30 grand a month on self-education. I'll have a guy that I just spent an hour with. I spent $1,000 on an hour coaching. I look at his eyes in the end. I say, brother, thank you so much. I'll give him a hug. I go, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that gift. I just gave him a G for fucking 60 minutes. Why do I do that? Am I doing that for him? No. It's completely for myself. It is 100% for me. It is coming from a frame of gratitude is an energetic, like letting value come to you is an energetic flow. And I want to keep the energy flowing. As you get a gift, when you say thank you, you say to yourself, this is amazing, thank you. It's like, this is very pseudoscience, this is very pseudopsychology, not provable, but I'd ask you to look at it through your own experience. When you say, this is amazing, thank you. God, amazing. Things just get better and fucking better. I'm saying thank you to him because I want to show gratitude to the universe that I get it. I received it. It landed. Got it. Thank you. Got it. It landed. And by letting it land, now I'm not in this coping mode of like, I just spent a G. Right? And I hate saying this because it has this weird undertone, like I'm trying to tell you guys the same thing. Like, I don't get, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm good, dude. I'm okay. But it's not for me, right? So if somebody's working their guts out, and you say thank you, you're putting it out to the universe that you appreciate the gifts. So what happens when you're in coping, that cab driver, he's miserable, but it's like, why is he miserable? He's like, I'm driving a cab. This sucks. I'm underpaid. My life sucks. The world sucks. So that's within him. So how will his outer reality manifest? What if he was like, you know what? It's a beautiful day. It's fucking beautiful out here. I'm driving down the street in a great country. I'm offering real value. This is honest fucking work. I got some cool people in here I can joke around with. Or if they're a dick, who cares? We'll get the next people to be cool. I get paid to drive around, enjoy the city, check out the city. Beautiful fresh air today, nice weather. Let's say it's raining. I'm in this cool rainstorm. Every breath I take feels good. God, I've got a cool family. My kids are cool. Great friends. I live in the modern era of society. We've got smartphones, cool fucking laptops and shit. All sorts of movies, great movies that cost hundreds of millions to create that I can watch for $10 at the theater. I could sneak in if I wanted. Give me a second, right? So when you feel that, and you feel that gratitude, now all of a sudden, it's putting it out to the world. I'm ready to receive. I get it. And when the universe sees that you're ready to receive, the universe gives more. Total pseudoscience, not provable. And yet, look at it with your own fucking eyes. Okay? You don't need a double-blind study. Just look at it and make your own opinion. So, ironically, the guy who needs it the most, That same taxi driver, you go to him and you say, you know what? You know those people you're jealous of? They didn't cheat the system. You know, they don't have rich parents. I mean, maybe they did, but maybe they didn't. There's lots of cases that didn't. And you live in this modern era. There's so much to be grateful for, but they can't feel that. Now again, coping versus thriving. Why do we cope? We cope, we have that mechanism to cope because it's actually there to protect us. It's there to save energy in times of scarcity. Do you follow this? Really critical. Why do we have the coping paradigm in the first place? Why? Is there periods in the world of real scarcity?
Yes.
Is there periods in the world where there's just low food, it's very negative, violent, and that actually is reality? You ever heard of the Dark Ages? Research that shit. It's nuts. What is it, like 1300s or something? You guys heard about this shit?
Yes, the 500.
Like 500 AD to what?
To 1500.
To 1500, right? Just like 800 years of shit.
1,000 years.
Violence, like okay, thanks. Okay, 1,000 years of shit. Violence, murder, you know, no food. Like the only people holding the wisdom of the world together is like the churches that like storing this like little vault of wisdom while like bad people like beat on the outside of the church. Like just chaos, black plagues and shit. And during those periods, maybe, perhaps, that coping mechanism is to make you save energy. But the problem is that same mechanism, it gets lodged in, right? It gets locked in like a pit bull. And so what happens is the person, they get locked into it and it becomes, say this word with me, self-fulfilling prophecy. Say that with me. Self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe that women are mean and they don't like a guy without a full head of hair, will you find evidence of that?
Yes.
Why? Because you approach expecting rejection, you approach with this weird, creepy fucking vibe, and as a result, girls blow you off left and right. What if you're in a thriving vibe? You offer value, good emotions, and responsiveness to every situation, and everybody you view as your friend. You remember the competitive versus collaboration frame? Competitive versus collaborative frame. Competitive, I've got to beat the girl and pass the test and beat her. Collaborative, she's already my friend. So when you have that, like everybody's already my friend, why do we have that? Why do we leave that open vulnerability? Because some people might hear about the collaborative frame and go, it's a hard world. Everybody's not your fucking friend. That's stupid. You know, they could be right. It's not completely wrong. There's many situations where that's fucking true. And if you're too much attached to like collaboration frame and expansive energy and sharing, you walk in a rough neighborhood, you could get fleeced. That's why people in a rough neighborhood probably have that coping mindset. It's there for a purpose. We have that lack of vulnerability, competitiveness, and aggression, and pessimism and skepticism for a purpose. That is real sometimes. But the problem is, if we want to evolve, is that in our society where a lot of things are good, if we can dislodge that, we can eliminate that self-fulfilling prophecy, and instead of being like this black hole where you're always sucking off people and people are creeped out, you suddenly become, and you're contracted. You suddenly get an expansive energy, and when you have expansive energy, here's what happens. When you're in a contracted energy, you're always looking for the win-lose for yourself, at least typically. So you might go into a deal and you want 80, while the other person gets 20. Okay, good for you. You got 80, the other person got 20. Good for you. But that 80 that you get is the only thing you're gonna get. What if you're like, you know what? I'm gonna give 10 times more than I receive. Every deal I do, I get 20, everybody else gets 80. What happens to your life? 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. 20's everywhere. Meanwhile, the one guy gets 80, he gets his 180, clings to it like the precious, right? You ever seen Lord of the Rings? Yeah. Right? And he's all like, he's the golem, he's all like dark energy, low vibration energy. The precious, he's got to cling to it. Versus the sharing energy, uplifting, transparent, abundant, sharing. Right? Expansive. Instead of light, instead of contracted, dense. So I teach this in pickup, for example, because I want you to have a light, expansive, sharing energy so that other people want to be around you. So that when you go say hi, you go, hey, what's up? Good to meet you. And the girls are like lighting up. They're loving you. Instead of being in a contracted energy, you're like, what's up? And then the girls are freaking out. You're like, I need a better tactic. What's the tactic here? Good God. And you're like, dude, just say hi. And you're like, I tried that, you motherfucker. Don't give me this woo-woo shit. I need a method. Right? And both people are right? If you believe that women are nice and collaborative, you're going to meet like 80% of women you meet, I don't know exactly the statistic, but a lot are going to be super friendly. Hey, what's up? Boom, making out, everything. If you think most girls are mean, you'll find evidence of that too. So you've got to get out of that. You've got to see when you're in coping, you're so deeply, this is the key, so pay attention. When you're in coping, you're so deeply trapped in your own thoughts, you can't be responsive to a situation. What am I doing when I speak, right? This bit here, I've taught stuff like this, but I'm creating this out of thin air. Why am I creating this out of thin air? Where am I getting this from? Am I logically thinking of this seminar, or am I getting it, like, as I say, from source? Where am I getting it from? Source. Okay, I'm not trying to be weird, like, from the source. Not like that. This is something anybody could do. This isn't, like, unique to me, okay? I'm not like, look at my beard, I'm talking to God. Like, fuck, what was you, retarded? It's simple. Just get out of your own way, come from a thriving, sharing paradigm, and the words come to you. How am I able to just go off like this? Am I thinking when I'm doing this? No. My awareness, is it stuck in here? How I look? Where's my awareness? It's to share with you. Why do you hear me from the back perfectly?
Because you want to share. You want to share.
Why am I not having a lot of ums and ahs?
Because you want to share.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I'd assume I'm not. Maybe I'm. Okay? Because I want to share, so it's coming to me. I'm letting it come to me. When you guys are watching me do game here, where is all this coming from? I'm letting it come to me. That's why it's natural. Do I get in coping mindset? Fuck yes, I do. Fuck yes. And it is awkward and weird and creepy. And then when I see myself doing it, I go, dude, chill. Don't be coping. Get out of your own way. Just share with the girls. No expectations. Enjoy. And then I slowly crawl my way out of it, and then the sets start flying open. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. So I talk about it all the time. I think some people see me talking about this. They're like, I need tactics. I'm like, look, I love tactics. I teach tactics. But this is a tactic. Like, I don't view this as like save the whales. This is Machiavellian fucking pimp shit. Like, this is like, if you care about amazing results and you care about measurable results, maybe get a little out of your paradigm of like, I'm gonna stay in coping and get this perfect method. It's like, chill, bro, chill. You'll see guys that are in coping because they start getting black bags under their eyes. You know the stereotype of like people that are evil? They often get like black bags under, like the golem, like it eats them. You can see the low vibration energy, that pain body, as Eckhart Tolle called it. The pain body eats them. You can see it physically eating them. When you're in a high vibration state, a sharing state, you're present, in my opinion, very subjective. I think you're less likely to get a lot of wrinkles on your face. I'm 37. What are you seeing? My body's not filled with cortisol. It's not clasping. How do you feel when you're clasping?
Tight.
How do you feel tight? Do you ever feel your eyes start clenching when you want it to work? You ever feel that? You feel tense? You overanalyze? Then you try to compensate with a line? I mean, I don't know, kind of weird for me to make statements like, look at my wrinkles. It's getting pretty weird zone. But I'm trying to reach you here. So when you're watching the infield footage here, the basis of my game is coping versus thriving. When I public speak in my business, it's coping versus thriving. I'm trying to thrive. If I could work long hours on my business, I'm coming from a thriving frame. Doesn't mean I'll never fuck up. Doesn't mean my shit couldn't crumble around my face. It doesn't work like that. Every truth is but a half truth. I still have a very deep technical know-how, and I still have a lot of how-to in my head. But the basis, the basic frame, and actually that lets me rely on that less, is the coping versus thriving. So rather than do you ever feel like you're in your head? Like maybe you'd ask a question right now and you feel kind of like you're in your head and you don't even know if you should ask the question, and it's kind of something you really want to have answered, and you kind of blurt it out, and then you're wondering if it was good, and then you wait to see how people respond. You ever feel like that in a classroom? Yeah. You ever had in a classroom where you're just kind of in the zone and you almost just shout out the question and everybody's like, wow, great question. You ever have that? Yeah. So that's the coping versus thriving, right? The guy who's in the audience who's like, oh, question, right? And it's like kind of out of line with the train of thought of what everyone's learning. Usually he's in coping. Fair enough. Look, we're all here to learn, right? I'm not like coping, get him and ostracize him, right? He's here to learn, so that I want to help. But at the same time, what you get is where if you're thriving, it's more natural. Like you ever have like that town hall scene where everybody's debating and all of a sudden like one guy at the back stands up and everybody just turns around and listens? You know that stereotype? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about here. It's a guy who's out of this like pain body and he just shares. That's what I'm trying to communicate to you. And you see this when I do exercises in videos that you might have seen me do, where a guy is speaking and he's quiet. And I bring him up to the front and I get him laughing and jumping and things like that, because you can't change emotion with logic. You can only change emotion with action. Say this with me. You can't change emotion with logic. You change emotion with action. So I get him taking action. He gets out of his own way, shifts his emotions, and gets him thriving. When you're speaking in a way where you can't be heard at the back, it's because you haven't joined the group and gone into collaboration. So you're stuck in your own head and you're like, I don't want to speak to be heard because I could be judged and it might hurt my voice and I think I'm talking loud enough, and you believe this in your fucking mind. It's so real. So when you speak in a way that carries to the back and it shares and people are all listening to you and they're really listening and they're really tuned in, that's because you're sharing. People sense like that's coming almost from somewhere else. They're there to share with me. That's where your power comes from. So in a way, by becoming less, you become more. Ironically, that angry stereotype of the taxi driver, he's actually more, because he's the sum total of his victim identity and his negative beliefs and all these like negative self-fulfilling processes and this dense energy, where some guy just kind of skipping down the street, he's kind of out of his own way, sharing good energy, he's actually less. But ironically, by becoming less, you become more. So to thrive, you actually become less and expand. It's a paradox. Any question about it? Because I do want to show some more infield footage, but if there's short questions about it, I know we're gonna get great questions. Quick one.
Is there a reliable way to force yourself out of coping? Like,
Take action.
all right,
Emotions not changed with logic. It's taken with action. That guy in the cab, you know what part of why he's pissed? He's sitting down a lot, right? It's a little bit of why. I mean, maybe oversimplifying, maybe a little judgmental, but I kind of believe that, right? He's sitting, he's stagnating. Yeah.
So what I want to know is that.
Louder.
So, okay, what I want to know is that you talked about, by the way, I fucking love this concept.
Thanks.
It's great, man. This hot seat is really, a lot of stuff is really clicking.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's have a look at this question. Now,
Okay.
you talked about one, you talked about adding value, right?
Yeah.
Adding positive emotions, but it's that third one that I really can't get.
So it's like you see that girl, you feel into the situation. You see her walking, she's trying to get somewhere. You don't go, hey, stop. You walk with her. You pull back a bit. Maybe you disqualify a little bit. You tease her a little bit. She warms up, and then you stop her. You can feel it, right? You go to lean in. Like a lot of time, you'll see me go to lean in to hug. I see a microsecond of her uncomfortable, and I back off. I put my hands behind my back. I go like that. She goes, boom, and hugs me. You feel into the situation for what's needed. You instinctively feel into it,
I understand,
like that.
but I don't see how that connects with adding the positive emotion.
Emotions to me is like joking, smiling, pumping your own neurotransmitters like we talked about earlier, and just sharing that energy by the law of state transference. Value is just you're a man, you're not creepy. That adds value in and of itself. You're clearly an alpha male. And feeling into the situation is, like the friends are all freaking out trying to pull her away, and you say, hey, we're gonna go here. And you feel into the situation what would be a win-win, and they feel it, and that's very pourpowerful.
Maybe
Quick question, yeah?
Maybe you should also tell them about the intent and freedom from outcome. Like, I know you posted a lot of videos with Luke and Max about it.
It's you care the most, but you care the least. And that allows you to be fluid. You take the most action, but you're disattached from the process. The Bhagavad Gita, which is spiritual text, can talk about that. Any other quick questions? I want to move on from this. Quick ones? Go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah.
You were saying something about the guy who will ask the question and is totally uncalibrated. Did you talk to Julian during his last free tour in New York?
Oh, no, I didn't.
You should ask, because me and Paul, we were there and we were like talking about this one guy. I couldn't understand it for the life of me, what was going on in his head. It was like at the height, and Julian wasn't talking about just like basic pickup stuff. He's talking about like ultimate happiness in life and how to get there. It was like the height of like what he was going to deliver. And this guy out of nowhere interrupted him in front of 500 people. It was like, Julian, you're my pickup god. Teach me how to get the girl. And Julian, it was like, everyone was like,
Yeah, sucks the energy out of the room.
yeah, I couldn't believe it. And
It's like an improv skit. The best improvers, the worst improvers, and I've done improv, and I struggle with it. I struggle with why do you think I speak passionately about these concepts? I fucking have struggled and can still be challenged by these concepts. So great improvers, they engage the whole group and they create this beautiful skit together. The joke comes out and they add good emotions, value, and responsiveness to that joke. And everybody comes together, it makes a great skit. Who here's ever been to like UCB Theater, like United Citizens Brigade or Second City, these beautiful improv groups? You gotta check them out, they're amazing. Now, what happened there was Julian is sharing a concept and the energy's building and he's sharing and the energy in the room is growing. And that guy, he's in coping, so he's gonna go, I mean, in theory, just based on your description, and then he would go, oh shit, he's talking about happiness and offering value and getting over emotional trauma. I need to get laid, and this free tour is about to end. Probably doesn't even want to pay the couple bucks to do a cheap ass hot seat because he's in taker mode where he might actually learn that. He needs it now at the expense of 500 people and for free. And what's happening is like it's building and he's too much in coping. As a teacher of social dynamics, we understand where that's coming from because you wouldn't be here if you didn't need help, right? If he's saying, Julian, you're my pickup God, he loves Julian. He's one of Julian's fans. We're there to help him. Anybody that comes to a seminar and is still in that coping mode and a little bit disruptive, I still put that guy on a pedestal. And here's why. There's millions of people like that on the street with no idea they have a problem. If that guy's here, he's in the right place. I got no problem. At least he has an idea that he needs some help. I was the worst of anybody at this.
To be honest, though, it seemed like he didn't even want he didn't even want to get laid. Like it seemed so detached from like being a better person and like getting the information that it seemed like it was so weird. I couldn't.
What you just described there, let me describe it for you.
Yeah.
What was happening was he thinks in his ego that getting laid would make him happy. But he probably is so not in a state of gratitude that if he actually had sex, he wouldn't even enjoy the experience. So you see a lot of guys learning game where they finally do get laid and they're like, it wasn't even what I thought, because their mind isn't trained and energetically they're not in a position and mentally they're coping, not thriving, to actually let it in and have gratitude for that sexual experience. So now they go from girl to girl to girl trying to validate this empty hole. So you probably felt, you're like, this guy's saying he wants to get laid, but even if he got laid, he'd still be stuck in this paradigm, and he thinks it would make him feel better, but it wouldn't. Not to say, now people then take that too far and go, you should never get laid because you're just thinking it'll make you happy. Sex is wonderful, so that's also wrong. But you want to also be able to enjoy it. It's the science of achievement and the art of appreciation. So what you saw there, though, was a guy who was disconnected. And you remember earlier when I said the people who need it the most, it falls on deaf ears? The people who need it the most fall on, like even me saying this, the people who need it the most falls on deaf ears, would hear me say this, and they're, like I said, the red flashlight and the green flashlight, they can't perceive it, and therefore they would take it as trickery. They'd be like, he's saying that the people that need it the most don't get it, as an excuse for these lies that you really need the secret trick. And there are books like Spiral Dynamics that talk about how to get deeper into that paradigm and relate and resonate with people on that level. I understand it. You will see me at times talking about a higher concept, a guy's not getting it, I go, hey dude, do you want to fuck chicks? Do you want to fuck some chicks? Do you want to get some pussy and get some money? And they're like, oh yeah, the money, the chicks, right? Like the precious, right? Like the golem, right? The precious, right? And then I go, come here, right? And then I switch him around, I transform him. Then he's like, oh, and then oftentimes I start to cry. So that's because it's easy to look down on those guys. Have you never been in that paradigm?
Yeah.
Of course. So that's why I get so paranoid. Sometimes I look a bit irritated because they say that you're irritated by your shadow. You see yourself in them and you're like, fuck, this is bullshit, right? But really what you're doing is going, this is bullshit, don't do that. Sometimes I see homeless people on the street begging for money, and I'm like, no, like that, because a part of me just wants to stop working hard and just sit there and get free money, right? But I've had to train myself out of that. So yeah, I mean, we've all felt it, right? So in the same way, when you see someone coping, you might be like, fuck that guy, but really, who are you really saying fuck that guy? Fuck that guy. Don't do that. Don't cope. Don't cope. It's really not about him. It's about you if you feel a visceral reaction. And your goal is to help that guy. And actually, funny enough, many of those guys that I drag up in front and make have that experience, they start to cry. And they'll text me years later saying like, oh my God, I wouldn't say that like they truly have this permanent transformation forever because they like went crazy in front of the crowd. But it at least gives them an awareness of it, that even if they sink back into coping, they can remember vaguely what it was like, almost like taking a hallucinogenic drug and you're like, I love everybody, right? And later you hate everybody and you're like, but I remember at one point I loved everybody. It gives you a reference experience. So at least you can provide that. You know, if they took like a longer course, maybe we could dig deeper, but in that moment in a free tour, it's just a free tour. So you try to give them a reference experience, you know, but thank you for sharing. That's a great example. I'll take maybe 1-2 more questions. I got to move the video.
Yeah, so with business, how do you kind of balance like giving, but also taking?
It's all, I made another video about this. You have to give and receive. I will spend 80% of my time making free videos, doing free tours, but I also have to spend time doing product launches. Sometimes people will have like begrudge that, right? Like they think that there should be these like free videos shot by full-fledged camera teams, well lit, shot in 4K in beautiful cities with free in-field. And the second you go to sell something, they're like, dislike, fuck this. And it's like, where do you think this comes from? Like, do you think that I'm just so in the law of abundance that I just wake up with piles of cash on my bed to keep doing this, right? So you also have to receive. It's important for me to spend most of my time giving, but it's also important for me to go to the fucking spa, sauna, eat healthy, take herbs, supplements, sleep in a pitch black room, spend time with friends, spend time having sex, and recharge myself and rejuvenate myself spiritually and physically and emotionally. Because then what I can do is I can share more. So it's important to learn how to make yourself strong, because when you make yourself strong, you can offer more. A guy like Warren Buffett can offer more than, you know, the philanthropist who never had a job, and he's just like making paintings and cool art about his hatred of homelessness. You know, whereas a guy like Warren Buffett can offer more. You could have different opinions on him, right? Controversy and stuff, right? But the general idea of that, if you could just take that. So you want to be good at receiving. A lot of people give a compliment, but you give them a compliment, they ignore it. Somebody gives me a compliment, I want to say, thank you, man. And I want to let it sink in. And I want to enjoy that. When I eat a nice meal, I want to enjoy that. You know, when I'm having sex with a beautiful woman, I want to pause and really enjoy that so that I can go back to it. I spent, you know, about 8 hours today having sex with her in the back. And I did that specifically because I knew I was going to come here and give everything I have. By me having sex with her all day, how much better is the seminar? What do you think?
Awesome.
So you can thank her, okay? kind of a bizarre way of putting it, but you know, you see my point, right? So, you know, I'll take some nice herbs, like some nice ginseng, some really fancy ginseng, cordyceps, reishi mushroom, turmeric, all this different shit, right? Green, I'll have a nice, beautiful salad, enjoy it, take it in, sleep in a nice pitch black room, relax, and then I go and I give. My marketing guy, Mikhail, I was with Luke, and we were gonna, and he was so overworked. Did you guys see Luke's promotion for Social Circle Blueprint? He looks exhausted, right? There's quite the story behind that. I won't dig too deep in that. But he had just been working so hard, he's under so much stress. So I took Luke out to lunch, and I was joking around with him, and Mikhail, he didn't understand the method to my madness. He's like, dude, we gotta go. Fuck this lunch shit. We gotta go. We gotta get the sales ad done. I was like, slow down. Enjoy, let him recharge a bit. But then Mikhail didn't let him, and then you saw what happened. So it was a mistake, even though Mikhail was the more professionally responsible one and the brilliant, amazing marketer. You see that? But then he saw that, and much like how he's taught me a lot, I taught him something that day. Okay, so, you know, if I go to do, say, a sales ad myself, I don't sit there stressing over it. I go relax, have some fun, and I just roll into it, turn on the camera, knock it out. Beautiful, right? So you want to receive and give. And it's funny because when I walk down the street, this is this preposterous example. I feel weird talking about this, but I feel it's very evocative and illustrative. People walk up and hand me money random on the street all the time. I'll have friends at a restaurant where I'll go to the bathroom, I come back, and they're like, dude, this guy just walked up and gave me money, and he was crying, and he said to give it to you. It's very common that people instinctively just start handing me money. Why does that happen? Because when you give, the universe wants to give back, and they feel that impulse in them to give back. So part of it is that when you share, people reciprocate. But at the same time, you also have to be ready to receive. Let me give an explanation. If I do a free tour, a beautiful free tour, but I don't let people know that maybe I'm doing, say, a hot seat that weekend, what number of sales do you think I get? 0. Wouldn't you think it'd be 5% or 10%? It's 0. If I don't say, I'm open to receiving, 0, nobody will be in this room. But if I give a great event, and for even 5-7 minutes at the end, I talk about what the hot seat is, what you could expect to see, what you'll enjoy, what features and benefits you'll get out of it, and why you should sign up right now and get started, if I just do that simple thing, just 5-7 minutes out of a 5-hour event, 40% of the room will come sign up frequently. You have to be open to receiving. You have to be okay with receiving. A lot of the hippie granola people aren't okay to receive, and therefore they'll never give their biggest gift. As soon as I get the money from that hot seat, what am I doing? Buying better camera teams, better gear. I'm going to more beautiful place to shoot. I'm bringing out guys into the field to shoot more stuff, and I'm putting up stuff for free. You see that? I skim a bit off the top for myself to enjoy a nice meal. I'm back at it. It's a beautiful thing. It's win-win. It's good for everybody. But notice, see, there's this experiment that they do where they get 2 people together and they take a $20 bill. Follow this. I'll wrap with this and then we're going to move on. They take a $20 bill and they say, you get to choose how much he gets, but if he chooses, he can make it that both of you get nothing. The average person, if you say 50-50, he'll say yes. It's a sense of justice, right? They call that sense of justice, sense of fairness. You go 50-50, he'll say yes. You both get $10. If you say you'll keep 12, he'll keep 8, he'll usually say yes. If you say you'll keep 14, he'll keep 6. A lot of people say no. Say that you're going to keep 19, he's going to keep 1. Most people say no. If you guys had somebody have $20 and it's going to be split and you could choose, but you could say everybody gets 0, if he gave you 1 and he kept 19, would you say yes or no?
No. Yes.
You probably caught the trick by thinking about it. Most people say no, but it's actually irrational. Why? Because you still got $1 you wouldn't get. It's that sense of justice. So it's not to say not to have personal boundaries or to receive, but no, like if I spend like 85% of my time making videos, and my business does say 10 million a year in revenues, and really most of what I do, like I live in a fat crib, but I find people that just want to come let me live with them. I don't even have to like pay huge amounts for that. You know, I buy nice clothes, but I actually get that on such steep discount because a lot of the clothing store companies want me to show the clothing in my videos. You guys see what I do? It's strategic. I use social dynamics to live a rich life. Social dynamics, learning real social dynamics, is meant to save you money. It's meant to get you free tables, free people that want you to live with them. I'll still contribute a lot, but you see my point, right? It's like you use your social skills, you offer value, you get value back. So that being the case, what you want to do is, really if I spend all my time offering, I'm not really getting back that much compared to how hard I'm working, but I'm still getting back way more than the average person. You see that? Offer 10x. Offer 10x, you get 1 for every 10 you offer, but you still wind up with way more than everybody else. Look, think of it this way. We'll wrap with this, okay? If you go to a club and you open everybody and you make everybody have fun that night, you go hug dudes, you talk to fat girls, talk to everybody, make everybody have fun. You just made 300-400 people have a great time. You take home 1 girl. And maybe you only take home a girl a week. Is that a good deal? Yeah. A lot of people would say no. The same logic. 19-1? No. But at the same time, if you're taking home a beautiful girl a week, that's 50 girls a year. So you're still way ahead of the game.
52.
True. Thanks. That's why I failed math. So, 15 and threesome. So, but you guys get the general idea, okay? Look, I've thrown out a lot of broad strokes here. I think you could really pick a lot of holes in what I'm saying. I think a lot of it's very pseudoscience-y. I'm not trying to like disavow responsibility for what I'm saying. Whether or not you take what I say at face value, like as an exact science, at least I hope it's stimulating your ideas on it. I don't think any of us are perfect with this. I'm certainly not. But it's just a general flow for how I'm getting these types of results. And again, like you were saying, that guy who came to Julian's conference and he's like, well, I need the line, right? Ironically, it falls on deaf ears. It's the people who are into this vibe are like, this is beautiful, wow. And the people who can't see it, they're just like, fuck it, because they're locked in that paradigm. Someday, I hope to reach people in that paradigm. Oftentimes, I use the transformational experience and the crazy exercises, or bring people up at the front to try to reach them, to show them something different, to show them how to draw from source, to offer value, and to get into a flow. Because when you're in coping, it's like this, and nobody wants to share, so you're stuck clinging on what you have. In thriving, you share, but you may give out way more than you ever got back, but why are you able to give out way more? Because it's coming from source. You don't have to do all of it. When I go up here and do a speech, I don't have to do the speech. Do you see that? I just got to get out of the way, let it flow out. I'm doing some of it, but I'm not doing all of it. I can let a lot of it flow out. I'm directing the energy, but really I'm just letting the energy come through. So I actually get energized from the giving. When I make a beautiful video, I'm getting energized from doing it. When I go teach a boot camp, I'm getting energized. Like you guys have been on my boot camp. At the end of the night of boot camp, do I have more energy or less energy?
More.
Weird, right? I get there, I'm kind of in this like taker mode. Like I want to just get stuff, you know, because like I've been going about my day, maybe trying to recharge. Then I get out there, start sharing, and my energy goes up. It's not 100% like that. You do need to recharge, don't get me wrong. But just, this is new material to me. I've taught it before, but it's still something I'm beginning to understand. I wouldn't say I understand it perfectly. I would say that I'm probably explaining it in some ways more relatable to an RSC audience than other places I've seen it explained. I'm trying my best. But I would say that like, you know, don't go too far down the pseudoscience path. Stay balanced. Every truth is about a half truth. Don't get so bought into a philosophy that you wind up sacrificing yourself and fucking your life up over it. Try to use common sense. I'm not saying that to disavow responsibility from what I'm saying. I'm just trying to communicate in a way that's relatable and that's impactful and that can help, as opposed to like having people believing what I'm saying at point, like, you know, at face value and not questioning it. You should be skeptical. You should kind of try to think how it relates to you and kind of find the holes in what I'm saying, and because the map isn't the territory. Like what I'm saying is the map, but that's not always the territory. Maybe you need to get grumpy. Maybe sometimes you need to just go fuck off. You know what I'm saying, right? Maybe you need to get petty. Maybe you need to be like, fuck these bitches, you know, right? Like sometimes you just need to do that. That's cool. But in general, you want to be thinking to yourself, like how can I move towards that ideal? It's not like you arrive at a destination. It's a journey in and of itself, which you make goals towards arriving at. And then as you get older, as your physical body fails you, you grow in essence. So as the form fades, you grow in essence. That's something Eckhart Tolle talks about. Okay, so the form is fading, but you're growing in essence, right? You're getting more out of your way. You're becoming less, but more is flowing through you. Does that make sense? All right, you guys enjoy that?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.